extradition hearing. I will set your hearing date for April 7th at 2025 at 1:30 in the Superior Court, Maricopa County. I cannot appoint you an attorney to represent you because extradition matters are civil in nature, but you would have the right to hire a lawyer at your own expense if you choose. You are entitled to bail, which in this case would be the $18,000 secured bond that I stated. If you are unable to post your bail, you would be held in custody during that time or until another judge modifies your bail. You would not be entitled to, a governor's warrant signed by the governors of both states is required to extradite you to Texas. That process could take up to 90 days.
Your Honor, you're giving me a choice between life or death. I have a doctor's appointment Thursday. I was out on bail. I haven't done anything wrong. I've made all my court appearances, and now you're telling me I got to choose to sit in here and possibly die in jail because I'm not going to be able to go get my kidneys. I'm suffering with kidney failure right now because of something that happened 20 years ago.
Okay, so you're going to need to talk to the DOs about any medical issues.
I've already talked to them about that when I got here.
All right, sir. So here's your choice. You can waive the extradition hearing, or you can proceed forward with the extradition hearing. Based upon everything, I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to issue the order for the April 7th, 2025 extradition hearing in Maricopa County Superior Court at 1:30. If you want to go ahead and postpone, you can postpone. But that's my ruling today, sir. If you want to step to the left and you'll be officers will have your paperwork.
All right, so I can post bond, but it's $18,000.
Secured, yes.
Meaning, can I go through a bail bondsman?
You can go through a bail bond, yeah.
And you can't lower that any?
No, I actually did lower it. So if you want to go and step to the left, get your paperwork.
I don't know. After she needs to find.
No, I just got to fix out.
I got pretty good. Go ahead and see.
I don't see it now. We need to take it.
It'll be on the paperwork.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown?
Right, officers, are the galley cleared?
Yeah, there's nobody in there.
Okay. I just couldn't see the whole thing. All right. Mr. Ray, can you please state your name for the record?
Hayden Ray.
All right. And Mr. Ray, you are here following a April 24th arrest for sexual conduct with a minor, a class, or 4 counts of sexual conduct with a minor, all class 6 felonies. I am finding probable cause for those violations today. I am appointing you an attorney. 2 hearings have been set in your matter. The first one is on March 31st at 8:30. The second one is on April 3rd at 8:30. I am setting a secured appearance bond in your case in the amount of $10,000. In the event you are able to post that bond, you will be subject to pre-trial supervision, which will include specifically an ankle monitor, which with curfew restrictions on that. In the event that you are able to post the bond and secure your release, you may not have any contact with the alleged victim, any witnesses, and you can have internet access only for school, court, or work purposes. And if you go ahead, step to the left, officers will have your paperwork for you.
Am I allowed to ask one question?
What is your question, sir?
I'm staying here, correct, until my hearing.
You're staying here unless and until you post that $10,000 secured appearance bond.
Am I allowed to use a bondsman?
Yes, you can use a bondsman.
Okay, and how exactly do I get a hold of that?
Decision officers would have that information for you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, we have four house calls today. All right. Okay. And as a result of information obtained through in the Maricopa County Sheriff's officers, these individuals have been isolated as a danger to self or others, and they are as follows. Cody Bull Plume, date of birth 12/26/1993, is here on an arrest warrant out of the Superior Court. I am appointing Mr. Plume an attorney, and 2 hearings have been set in his case. The first one on April 9th at 8:30, and the second one on April 11th at 8:30 in the downtown Superior Court. Based upon my review, my intention right now is to release Mr. Plume on his own recognizance, subject to pretrial supervision. The second house call today is Leticia Harvey. Mr. Harvey's date of birth is April 9th, 1997. Mr. Harvey is here on a new case for theft of controlled property, a Class 6 felony. I am appointing Mr. Harvey an attorney and setting 2 hearings, the first on April 9th at 8:30 and the second one on April 11th at 8:30 in the downtown Superior Court. Based upon my review of the information available to me, my intention is to release Mr. Harvey to pretrial supervision. The next house call is Linda Romero, date of birth July 14th, 1998. Ms. Romero is here as a new case based upon alleged violations of aggravated assault on a first responder, a Class 6 felony, and assault, a Class 1 misdemeanor, resisting arrest, a Class 1 misdemeanor, and criminal damage, a Class 2 misdemeanor. Did find probable cause for all 4 of those violations. I am appointing Ms. Romero an attorney and setting 2 hearings in her case, the first for March 31st at 8:30 and the second on April 3rd at 8:30 in the downtown Superior Court. I am setting a secured appearance bond in Ms. Romero's case in the amount of $2,000. In the event that Ms. Romero is able to post that bond, she would be subject to pretrial supervision, including alcohol testing and monitoring, as well as electronic monitoring. The last house call today is Allison Slivers. Ms. Slivers is here on a new case for an arrest date of March 24th for shoplifting, a Class 4 felony, and shoplifting, a Class 1 misdemeanor, along with public consumption of liquor, a Class 2 misdemeanor. I did find probable cause for all 3 violations. I am appointing her an attorney in her new case and setting 2 hearings, one on March 31st at 8:30 and the second one on April 3rd at 8:30 in the Maricopa County Superior Court downtown. I am setting a secured appearance bond in the new case of $1,000. In Ms. Sliver's second case, is a probation violation warrant out of the Maricopa County Superior Court. I am appointing her an attorney in this case and setting a hearing on April 1st, or 2 hearings on April 1st at 8:30. Secured appearance bond in this matter in the amount of $1,000. If any of this changes, once I have an opportunity to speak with these individuals, then I will update the written order. Thank you. And this concludes the 2 p.m. initial appearance calendar, and court is vacated. What do you say?
Sorry?
Oh, and is in recess until the 5 p.m. calendar.
Commissioner should be on our way.
That's fine. We're in no rush.
When the judge comes in, everybody stand up. You have any apple juice?
We do.
Who is it?
It's one of these. It's gonna be, Damian Ramon Pena.
Damian Ramon Pena.
Boston has a $5,000 bond.
You're not able to take it. Move on then. All right. You may be seated.
Do we have to?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Good evening. This is the time set for the 5 p.m. initial appearance calendar for March 25th, 2024. The court's orders for the taking of fingerprints and DNA samples made on the 1st of this month will apply to all matters on this calendar. I am going to call each of you up to the podium one by one, where I will ask you for your first and last name and your date of birth. I will then advise you as to why you are here, whether or not an attorney has been appointed to you, what your upcoming court dates will be, what your bond is if you are eligible for bond, and what your release conditions are. Some of you may have questions while I'm providing this advisement to you. I would just ask that you hold your questions until I complete the advisement. The first person that I'm calling to the podium is Kevin Rodriguez. If you'll please come to the podium, and Stephanie Vangos, if you'll please have a seat in the chair. Hello, can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Ramon Rodriguez, 12/17/1994.
You are here today on a new case. You were charged with 1 count of possession of narcotic drugs for sale, a Class 2 felony, 1 count of possession of narcotic drugs for use, a Class 4 felony, 1 count of possession of a weapon by a prohibited person, a Class 4 felony, 1 count of possession of drug paraphernalia, a Class 6 felony, and 1 count of carrying a weapon within the commission of a felony, a Class 6 felony. I did find probable cause as to all counts. I did appoint an attorney to represent you in this matter. You will have a status conference hearing on March 31st at 8:30, and you will have a preliminary hearing on April 3rd at 8:30. Because you were on felony release at the time that this alleged offense occurred, you are not eligible for bond today. As a result, I did set an evidentiary hearing for you for April 1st at 1:30. That takes care of everything that we can do here today. If you have no questions for me, I believe you will step to your left and the officer will give you your paperwork. Do you have the paperwork? Oh, okay, yes. Ms. Vangos, will you please come into the courtroom? And Ms. Phillips, will you please have a seat in the chair? Hello, ma'am. Will you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Stephanie Vangos, September 1st, 1984.
You are here on 2 matters. You have 1 new case, and then you have a warrant that was issued when you failed to appear for a court date. I'm going to first talk to you about your new case. You were charged with 1 count of taking contraband into a correctional facility, a Class 2 felony, 1 count of possession of a narcotic drug, a Class 4 felony, and 1 count of possession of drug paraphernalia, a Class 6 felony. I did find probable cause as to all 3 counts. I did appoint an attorney to represent you. You will have a status conference hearing on March 31st at 8:30. You will have a preliminary hearing on April 3rd at 8:30. Because you were on felony release at the time that these alleged offenses occurred, you are not eligible for bond today. So I did set an evidentiary hearing for you for April 1st at 1:30. This takes care of everything that I needed to advise you of today. Oh, I'm so sorry. And then I do need to tell you about your warrant for failing to appear. An attorney was already appointed to represent you in that matter. You do have a status conference hearing on March 31st at 8:30 and a preliminary hearing on April 3rd at 8:30. That warrant had a secured appearance bond in the amount of $500. I would caution you against attempting to pay that bond, since currently you're not eligible for bond in the other matter. Just wait till everything gets through.
Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
There's absolutely no way I can be on release? Like, I've never been on electronic monitoring.
I don't have discretion to do that. It's the law that when you are on felony release, that if you commit another felony offense, while you're on felony release, you're not eligible for bond. So I don't have discretion in that. That is the law.
Okay.
Okay?
So is it possible my next hearing
That will be discussed then. That will be for that. You'll have your attorney with you at that point in time,
Okay.
and it is an evidentiary hearing, and a decision will be made then. But as of today, the answer would be no. Okay, so that takes care of everything that I have to advise you of. Thank you. Ms. Phillips, will you please come into the courtroom, and Mr. Villalobos, if you'll please have a seat in the chair. Hello, can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Mandy Phillips, 02/26/1999.
You were here today on a new case. You were charged with 1 count of theft of means of transportation, a Class 3 felony, and 1 count of possession of a narcotic drug, a Class 4 felony. I did find probable cause as to both counts. I did appoint an attorney to represent you. You will have a status conference hearing on March 31st at 8:30. You will have a preliminary hearing on April 3rd at 8:30, and then you will have an evidentiary hearing on April 1st at 1:30. Because you were on felony release at the time that this alleged offense occurred, you're not eligible for bond today, and that's why the evidentiary hearing was set for you. So that takes care of everything that I have to advise you of today. If you have no questions for me, if you will please step to the left, the officer will give you your paperwork. Mr. Villalobos, will you please come into the courtroom? And Mr. Walston, if you'll please have a seat in the chair. Hello, sir. Can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Jose Villalobos, November 18, 1998.
You are here on 2 matters. You have a new case, and then you have a violation of probation. I'm going to first talk to you about your new case. You were charged with 1 count of theft of means of transportation, a Class 3 felony. I did find probable cause as to that offense. I did appoint an attorney to represent you in this matter. You do have a status conference hearing on... Are you interested in finding out why you're here and what your information is?
Felony Class 3, and violation of probation.
Well, I was still talking to you about giving you the information on your new case.
Because I was coming in. I hear you.
Well, you're not really behaving in a very respectful manner, and I'm trying to be very respectful to you.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
So you have a status conference hearing on March 31st at 8:30, and you have a preliminary hearing on April 3rd at 8:30. You do have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $2,500. If you are able to post bond, you cannot return to the scene of the alleged crime. You cannot initiate any contact with the alleged victim. You must contact probation within 72 hours of your release. As to your violation of probation, I did appoint an attorney to represent you in that matter. You do have a probation revocation possible disposition hearing on April 1st at 8:30. You have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $500. So between your 2 cases, you have a total secured appearance bond of $3,000. Make sure you comply with your release conditions as well as appear for your court dates. If you fail to do so, any bond that you posted would be forfeited. A warrant will be issued for your arrest, and additional bond will be imposed. That takes care of everything that I have to advise you of. If you have no questions for me, you may step to the left and the officer will give you your paperwork.
Thank you, miss.
Right, this one. Here's the paperwork. Go ahead, see.
I'm gonna go ahead and jump ahead. It looks like the victim is here for a box break.
Correct. I let them know.
Okay, so I'll just go through them. Okay. Mr. Walton, will you please come into the courtroom? And Mr. Helm, if you'll please have a seat in the chair. Hello, sir.
Good morning. Good evening.
Can you state your first and last name for me and your date of birth?
Charles Walton, 10/14/1983.
Thank you. You were here on a new case. You were charged with 1 count of possession of a weapon by a prohibited person, a Class 4 felony. I did find probable cause as to that count. I did appoint an attorney to represent you. You do have a status conference hearing on March 31st at 8:30, and then you have a preliminary hearing on April 3rd at 8:30. You do have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $5,000. If you are able to post bond, you cannot possess any weapons, and you must appear for your court dates. If you don't comply with your release conditions or you fail to appear for your court dates, any bond that you posted would be forfeited, a warrant would be issued for your arrest, and additional bond would be imposed.
Okay.
That takes care of everything that I had to advise you of. If you have no questions for me.
Yes, ma'am, is there any way for the bond Because I'm not gonna be able to afford that. Is there any way we can reduce that by any way? Because I gotta work, I gotta support my kids and to try to get this case settled. I have to be able to be out there.
Okay, so I'm gonna explain to you why the bond is where it's at. I did look at your criminal history, and I've looked at your past failures to appear. You have 7.
Those are for traffic cases that are sort of why.
Well, I'm looking. I can see all the ones that you failed to appear for. Okay, so that's my first concern. And then the circumstances of which you ended up having police contact, that was concerning to me. I was asleep in my truck at the gas station. Okay, so you're telling me that you have kids to support, but at 3:45 this morning, you were found asleep in a car in front of an establishment, and there was a concern about whether or not you were even okay.
Yes,
and so there was a concern regarding that, correct?
I understand, ma'am.
And then upon making contact with you, there was a firearm in the car. Those are the alleged facts that I made a probable cause finding on. So when I take into consideration all of those things, I do believe that the bond, and your bond is secured appearance, so it's 10% of $5,000. But I believe that a secured appearance bond is appropriate for you to ensure the safety of the community and to make sure that you appear for your court date.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Appreciate it.
Sure. So if you will step to your left, the officer will give you your paperwork. Mr. Helm, if you'll please come to the courtroom. And Mr. Boswick, if you'll please have a seat in the chair. Hello, sir. Can you please state your first last name and your date of birth?
Travis Helm, 7/21/91.
You were here on a new case. You were charged with 1 count of aiming a laser at an occupied aircraft, a Class 6 felony. I did find probable cause for that offense. I did appoint an attorney to represent you. You do have a status conference hearing on March 31st at 8:30 and a preliminary hearing on April 3rd at 8:30. You do have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $5,000. If you are able to post bond, you cannot possess any weapons, and you do need to make sure that you appear for your court dates. If you fail to comply with your release conditions or appear for your court dates, any bond posted would be forfeited, a warrant would be issued for your arrest, and additional bond would be imposed. So that takes care of everything that I needed to advise you of. If you have no questions for me, if you'll step to the left, the officer will give you your paperwork.
So how much is my bond?
Secured appearance, $5,000, so 10% plus collateral of $5,000. So that's like $500 plus collateral.
Is there any way that I can get a word to keep my job? Like I already have a no-call, no-show yesterday, and this is going to be number 2.
So I'm going to tell you my personal philosophy when people tell me things like that. So I made a probable cause finding that you pointed a laser at a helicopter, which is dangerous.
Yeah, I get it.
But you had a job at the time that you did that,
no.
Allegedly. That's what you're telling me, no call, no show. What are you talking about?
This was at night. That night, I was outside playing with my laser, and there was a helicopter flying around.
Well, don't talk about the facts. I'm not getting all the way into it. I'm telling you what I considered.
No,
I need for you to tell me. Well, so based on those things, based on that, the alleged circumstances, and you know what your personal life is and what your personal responsibilities are. So while I have empathy that people have life commitments, but also you can choose to do what you do, but you don't get to pick your consequences. And so this is a consequence right now. Based on the seriousness of the offense, somebody could have been hurt or killed.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I'm also looking at I've also looked at your criminal history as well.
Okay.
So based on those things, you have like 5 felony failures to appear for court dates. And I'm looking at the nature of the offense and what happened, the seriousness of the offense and what happened. And so I am of the opinion that a secured appearance bond of $5,000 is appropriate. It's 10% of $5,000.
Which is $500, right?
Correct.
And if I pay that bond,
if you are able to post bond, then you would be released.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Boswick, will you please come to the podium? My understanding is that, before we get started, my understanding is that the alleged victim or victims are present, so I'm going to provide the victim rights advisement at this time. If you are the victim of a crime with a case pending before this court, you are advised that you have rights under Arizona law that, among others, include the right to be treated with fairness, respect, and dignity, to a speedy trial, to be present at court proceedings, to choose whether or not to be interviewed by the defendant or the defendant's attorney, to be heard before the court makes a decision on release, negotiation of a plea, scheduling and sentencing, and to receive restitution from a person who is convicted of causing your loss. If you have not already been provided with a written statement of all victim rights, please contact the Victim Services Division of the Prosecutor's Office. Mr. Bostwick, can you please state your first and last name for me, as well as your date of birth?
James Bostwick, 12/11/1992.
Sir, you are here today on a new case. You were charged with the following offenses. You were charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon or dangerous instrument, a Class 3 felony, and 2 counts of assault with intent to injure, a Class 1 misdemeanor. I did find probable cause as to all the counts. I did appoint an attorney to represent you. You do have a status conference hearing on April 31st at 8:30 and a preliminary hearing on, March 31st at 8:30 and a preliminary hearing on April 3rd at 8:30. Before I go into release conditions, I do want to make a record that I did review the victim impact statement, and my understanding is that one of the victims would like to speak. So I'm not sure, okay, so you may speak at this time.
So I want to first say that's my brother. I take care of him. He's not able to take care of himself. He's incapacitated. He's not able to make decisions on himself. He has autism. He needs to be in a psychiatric hospital. Not here. That's all.
Psychiatric.
So much of what you stated, ma'am, I did consider. It was noted in your victim impact statement. What I have to do as a judicial officer is follow the law when it comes to making a determination of release conditions and what is appropriate and the things that I have to consider. I read the probable cause statement that law enforcement submitted multiple times because I was very concerned about the nature of the offense and the seriousness of it, and quite frankly, the violence that was involved, the alleged violence of what was involved. Also within that probable cause statement, it indicated that this is not the first time that law enforcement has been out to your home. So what I am concerned about is the safety of you and the other alleged victim, as well as making sure that nothing else happens in the community for your brother. So in considering all of those things, I am ordering that there's a secured appearance bond. I'm going to change the bond amount, Giselle. Okay. So I'm going to order a secured appearance bond in the amount of $5,000. And that you be released to pretrial services with electronic monitoring. You cannot return to the scene of the alleged crime, and you cannot initiate, I'm sorry, I'm not done. There's another edit. Okay. All right, I think I made all the corrections. Okay, so you'll be released to pretrial services with electronic monitoring. You cannot return to the scene of the alleged crime. You cannot possess any weapons. Typically, and this is for the sake of the victim's information, typically in these sorts of cases, I would order that there be no victim contact. I'm not sure if you are his, I'm not sure if you're his power of attorney or what have you, or if you have to make arrangements for his medical or mental health treatment. So with taking that into consideration based on what you wrote, he just can't return to the house. I don't believe that you should be living together at this time. Failure to comply with the release conditions or failure to appear for your court dates would result in any bond that is posted being forfeited, a warrant being issued for your arrest, and additional bond being imposed. So that takes care of everything that I needed to advise you of, Mr. Bostic. If there's anything, if you have any questions for me, do you have any?
I do, actually. Is it possible that I can countersue them for what?
We're not in civil court.
I know.
That's a civil question, and you're here on a criminal matter.
Okay, because they're not exactly innocent either, because her boyfriend did damage to my eye, and he also did.
I'm gonna time you out. I've appointed an attorney to represent you. So any legal defenses that you have, that's what you would tell your attorney, and there's a proper way to do that. Today, this court, I don't consider any of those things, okay? So I've appointed an attorney to you, and so whatever, and now I'm starting to rethink whether or not there should be no victim contact based on statements. So at this time, I'm gonna ask you to step back into the room, and I'm gonna recall this case because I'm gonna have to reconsider some things. Mr. Henderson, will you please come into the courtroom? And Mr. Brown, if you'll please have a seat in the chair. Sir, can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Kendra Henderson, February 1st, 1994.
You were here today because you have 2 warrants that were issued when you failed to appear for court dates.
Yes.
An attorney was already appointed to represent you in both matters. On the first matter, you have a status conference hearing on April 3rd at 8:30. On the second matter, you have a disposition hearing on April 3rd at 8:30. I'm not done.
Oh, okay. My apologies, sir.
Both warrants have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $1,800. So your total secured appearance bond would be $3,600. If you are able to post bond, you need to appear for your court dates. If you fail to appear, any bond that you posted will be forfeited. A warrant would be issued for your arrest, and additional bond would be imposed. So that takes care of everything that I need to advise you of. It sounds like you have a question for me.
Yes, I had court on the 20th, and I went to court. I was just a little bit late. My stepdad got into a car accident in my mom's car, and my mom couldn't drop me off at court, or I couldn't borrow my mom's car. And my car keys fell out of my pocket. I drove to Washington, and my car got impounded. I paid to have my keys replaced, so I had to catch the public
You're telling me a whole bunch of stuff?
My bus was just running a little bit late. I did go to court. I just had a failure to appear.
Did you call your attorney?
Yes, I called my attorney, and I left a voicemail, and I filed a motion to see if my court date could be rescheduled as well on the 20th.
I see that the motion was filed, but it doesn't look like the judge ruled on it.
I filed a motion.
You filed the motion.
Okay.
But the judge that you filed it in front of, when you file a motion, and I'm just going to tell you moving forward, you should not be filing motions on your own if you have an attorney representing you.
Yes, I called my attorney, but my attorney didn't answer. And when I went to court, they said that I could file a motion to see if my court date could be rescheduled. But I went to court on the 20th. I had court on March 20th, and I went to court. I was just a little bit late because my bus was running a little bit late.
I hear you.
And when the incident happened...
Hold on a second.
Okay.
What time was your hearing?
I think it was at 9.
Your motion was filed at 4:27, so you weren't just a little bit late.
I filed the motion earlier, like way earlier.
So the thing that I'm going to tell you is that whenever things are filed, they're stamped by the court with the date and the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the date and the time on your motion is March 20th at 4:27. So you filed your motion 30 minutes before the close of court. I'm just letting you know, because when you're saying things to me, you're overstating them.
Mm-hmm.
You said you were just a little bit late. You were more than just a little bit late. You were you were just 8 hours late.
No, I was a couple of minutes. To attend court, I was a couple of minutes late, but when I filed the motion, I'm not too sure if they filed it like later, but I submitted the motion way earlier.
I will tell you, I'm a prior attorney before I became a judge. When I filed my motions, I hand it to the clerk's office. They stamp it right then and there. You get a copy and a copy goes to the judge, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So it wasn't that they filed it later. They file it and stamp it as soon as you give it to them.
I submitted my motion like literally when I had a court.
So it sounds like you're not really interested in what I'm trying to say to you, and like you're not really helping yourself. You're not reading the room right now.
Yes.
At all.
I'm listening to what you're saying, but I attended court when I had a court on the 20th, and I was just a little bit late because my bus was running a little bit late. And when the incident happened in Tolleson, I was just at my friend's apartment.
So I'm going to go ahead. I think I've heard enough.
They said that I had like a...
I have heard enough.
Okay.
When I'm looking at the bench warrant that was issued, it looks like the judge gave you an hour. Before they issued the warrant, so you had over an hour to get there.
I was only a couple minutes late when I went to go into the courtroom. The door was closed.
Well, the things that you want me to consider, since you're really just wanting to say the same thing over and over, I'm going to tell you the same thing over and over. What you want me to consider does not make sense because your time does not match. I'm looking at what's actually in the record, and you were very, very late for court. You were very, very late for court. With that being said, I'm just going to ask you to go back into holding. I will address this later. I'm going to keep the calendar moving.
Okay.
Mr. Brown, will you please come into the courtroom? Sir, can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
May 27, 1999, Tyler J. Brown.
You were here today because 2 warrants were issued when you failed to appear for your court dates. An attorney was appointed to represent you in both matters. On your first matter, you have a status conference on March 31st at 8:30 and a preliminary hearing on April 3rd at 8:30. That warrant had a secured appearance bond in the amount of $1,000. Your second warrant had a non-witness violation hearing on March 31st at 8:30, and it too had a secured appearance bond in the amount of $1,000. So you have a total secured appearance bond of $2,000. If you're able to post bond, you do need to make sure you appear for your court date. If you fail to appear for your court date, any bond that you posted will be forfeited, another warrant will be issued for your arrest, and additional bond would be imposed. So that takes care of everything that I have to advise you of today. If you have no questions for me, if you will please step to the left. Mr. Baker, will you please come into the courtroom? So, sir, can you please state your first and last name?
Robert Baker, 122791.
Thank you. You are here today because you have a violation of probation. I did appoint an attorney to represent you in this matter. You have a probation revocation possible disposition hearing on April 1st at 8:30. Your warrant had a secured appearance bond in the amount of $1,500. If you are able to post bond, you do need to make sure you appear for your court date. If you fail to appear, any bond that you posted will be forfeited. Another warrant will be issued for your arrest, and additional bond would likely be imposed. That takes care of everything that I needed to advise you of. If you have no questions for me, you'll please step to your left. The officer will give you your paperwork. Thank you. Ms. Almanzar, if you will please come into the courtroom and Ms. Gonzalez, if you will please have a seat in the chair. So can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Melina Almengar, 6/10/95.
I'm sorry, September?
No, they have it wrong on there. I don't know.
I know, that's why I'm trying to hear the court date so we can fix it.
6/10/95. I keep telling them they have it wrong.
We'll correct it. We're fixing it right now. Okay, so you are here today because you have 2 violations of probation. I did appoint an attorney to represent you in both matters. You will have a probation revocation possible disposition hearing on April 1st at 8:30. On one of your warrants, you have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $750. The other one has also secured appearance bond in the amount of $750. So your total secured appearance bond is $1,500 between the 2 cases. If you're able to post bond, you do need to appear for your court date. If you fail to appear, any bond that you posted will be forfeited. A warrant will be issued for your arrest, and additional bond would be imposed. That takes care of everything that I needed to advise you of. If you have no questions for me, if you'll step to the left, the officer will give you your paperwork. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Gonzalez, will you please come into the courtroom? And Mr. Grant, if you will please have a seat in the chair. So can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Silvina Gonzalez, 62501.
Thank you. You are here today because you have a violation of probation. I did appoint an attorney to represent you in this matter. You do have a probation revocation possible disposition hearing on April 5th at 8:30. You do have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $50. If you're able to post bond, you do need to make sure you show up for your court date. If you fail to appear, any bond that you post, it will be forfeited. A warrant will be issued for your arrest, and additional bond will be imposed. That takes care of everything that I have to advise you of today.
Okay, so will I be getting released today?
You have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $50. You have to post bond in order to be released.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Grant, will you please come into the courtroom? And Mr. Cazares Torres, if you'll please have a seat in the chair. Hello, sir. Can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Xavier Grant, 8/20/88.
You are here today for a violation of probation. I did appoint an attorney to represent you. You have a probation revocation possible disposition hearing on April 1st at 8:30. You do have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $250. If you are able to post bond, you do need to make sure that you appear for your court date. If you fail to appear, any bond that you posted will be forfeited. Another warrant will be issued for your arrest, and additional bond would be imposed. That takes care of everything that I needed to advise you of. You look like you have a question. Do you have a question?
I love you. I appreciate you. That's
Okay.
it. Thank you.
Mr. Cazares Torres, if you will please come into the courtroom, and Mr. Takabashi, if you'll please have a seat in the chair. Hello, sir. Can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Cazares Torres, 12/27/1980.
You are here today because you have a new case, and then you have a violation of probation. On your new case, you were charged with 1 count of criminal trespass, a Class 6 felony, and 1 count of criminal trespass. So criminal trespass in the first degree in a residential structure is a Class 6 felony, and then criminal trespass in the first degree, I believe, they charged it as a Class 1 misdemeanor. I believe that was a non-residential structure. I did find probable cause as to both counts. I did appoint an attorney to represent you. You have a status conference hearing on March 31st at 8:30 and a preliminary hearing on April 3rd at 8:30. You have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $500. Then, as to your violation of probation, I appointed an attorney to represent you in that matter. You'll have a probation revocation hearing on April 1st at 8:30. You do have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $250. Between the 2 cases, you have a total secured appearance bond of $750. If you are able to post bond, you need to contact your probation officer within 72 hours of your release. You need to make sure that you go to all your court dates. If you fail to comply with your release conditions or appear for your court date, any bond that you posted will be forfeited. A warrant will be issued for your arrest, and additional bond would be imposed. So that takes care of everything that we keep you here today. Do you have any questions for me? Okay, so if you'll step to your left, officer will give you your paperwork. I'll be with you in just a second.
All right.
I need to edit this. Okay, I've corrected it. Okay, sir, can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Hayden Takabayashi, 9/13/97.
You are here today on a new case. You were charged with 1 count of unlawful means of transportation, a classified felony, and 1 count of possession of drug paraphernalia, a class 1 misdemeanor. I did find probable cause as to both offenses. I did appoint an attorney to represent you. You have a status conference hearing on March 31st at 8:30, and you have a preliminary hearing on April 3rd at 8:30. You do have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $2,500. If you are able to post bond, you need to contact your probation officer within 72 hours of your release. You also have a violation of probation. I did appoint an attorney to represent you in that matter. I have to fix this one too. So sorry, everybody. Okay, I just fixed it. I did appoint an attorney to represent you in this matter. You have a probation revocation possible disposition hearing on April 1st at 8:30. You do have a secured appearance bond in the amount of $500. So between your two cases, you have a total secured appearance bond of $3,000. If you're able to post bond, make sure you contact your probation officer within 72 hours, comply with your release conditions, as well as appear for your court dates. If you fail to comply with your release conditions or appear for your court dates, any bond that you posted will be forfeited, a warrant will be issued for your arrest, an additional bond would be imposed. So that takes care of everything that I have to advise you of today. If you have no questions for me.
I didn't have anything at that moment.
Don't talk about your case. Your questions would be about your release conditions, not about the facts of your case.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Eccles, if you will please come into the courtroom, and Ms. Foss, if you'll please have a seat in the chair. Hello, sir, can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Dion Eccles, 4/30/1998.
You are here on a new case. You were charged with 1 count of possession of a dangerous drug, a class 4 felony, and 1 count of possession of drug paraphernalia, a class 6 felony. I did find probable causes to both counts, and I did appoint an attorney to represent you. You will have a status conference hearing on April 9th at 8:30 and a preliminary hearing on April 11th at 8:30. I am inclined to release you to pretrial services, but you do have to promise to appear for your court date. Do you promise to appear?
I promise.
You also have to comply with your release conditions. If you fail to comply with your release conditions or to appear for your court dates, a warrant will be issued for your arrest and bond will be imposed. Do you understand?
I understand.
Okay, if you'll step to your left, the officer will give you your paperwork. Ms. Bob, if you'll please come into the courtroom. I have to fix this one. It's corrected. Ma'am, can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Stephanie Paff, January 10th, 1986.
You were here today on a new case. You were charged with 1 count of possession of a narcotic drug and 1 count of possession of drug paraphernalia and 1 count of knowingly displaying a false license plate, a class 2 misdemeanor. I found probable cause as to the possession of the narcotic drugs and possession of drug paraphernalia. I did not find probable cause on knowingly displaying a false license plate. I did appoint an attorney to represent you in this matter. You do have a status conference hearing on April 9th at 8:30 and a preliminary hearing on April 11th at 8:30. I am inclined to release you on your own recognizance today. You do have to promise to appear for your court date. Do you promise to appear?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
You also have a violation of probation. I did appoint an attorney to represent you in that matter. You do have a probation revocation possible disposition hearing on April 1st at 8:30. Again, I'm inclined to release you on your own recognizance. Do you promise to appear for your court date?
Yes, ma'am.
You do have to contact your probation officer within 72 hours of your release. You have to appear for all of your court dates. Failure to comply with your release conditions or appear for your court date will result in a warrant being issued for your arrest and a bond being imposed. That takes care of everything that I have to advise you of today. If you have no questions for me, if you'll step to the left, the officer will give you your paperwork.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Ms. Trotter, will you please come into the courtroom?
Fryer?
Trotter.
Fryer. Water. Ma'am? Are you able to see my butt?
Let's go, Fryer, get
Come
up.
on, let's go. Here's more of the job. Don't have one to Who's after that?
The sign right there.
Mr. Pena, if you'll please have a seat in the chair. Ma'am, can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Wendy Trotter, 32672.
You were here today on a new case. You were charged with one count of aggravated DUI, having a suspended or revoked license for DUI, class 4 felony, one count of possession of a dangerous drug, a class 4 felony, and one count of possession of a narcotic drug. I did find probable cause as to all three offenses. I did appoint an attorney to represent you. You will have a status conference hearing on April 9th at 8:30 and a preliminary hearing on April 11th at 8:30. When I was considering what your release conditions will be based on the circumstances that I reviewed as well as your history, I am going to release you to pretrial services because I believe you need to be participating in drug testing and monitoring. Do you promise to appear for your court date?
Yes.
You will have to comply with your release conditions. That means you have to participate in drug testing and monitoring. Do you understand?
Yes.
You also have to appear for your court date. I am hoping that you do understand what I'm saying to you today, because if you fail to comply with your release conditions or if you fail to appear for your court dates, a warrant is going to be issued for your arrest and a bond will be imposed. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes.
That takes care of everything that I have to advise you of. If you have no questions for me, if you will step to your left, the officer will give you your paperwork. Ma'am, just step to your, just keep walking to your left.
More this way, man. Okay.
Mr. Pena, if you please come into the courtroom.
How you doing?
Hello. Can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Damian Pena, December 7, 2000.
You are here today as a fugitive of justice and believe that your warrant is out of the state of Texas. You have a right to an extradition hearing. You would be entitled to bond. You have the right to hire your own attorney. One would not be appointed to you in this matter because it's a civil matter in nature. If you choose to move forward with the extradition proceedings, that requires a warrant to be signed by both the governor of Arizona and the governor of Texas. That matter could take between 60 and 90 days. You can waive an extradition hearing. That would mean that you would not be entitled to bond. The issuing state would have up to 30 days from tomorrow to pick you up, unless you have any local charges pending. If you have any local charges pending, you would have to conclude those cases, and the 30 days would not start until after those matters were concluded. Did you have an opportunity to review the placards that advised you of your rights?
I did. I understand it to a certain extent. There was just little questions that I wanted to ask about it.
Okay.
So, with the bonding, how would that go about? Like, is there a certain amount that you're going to give me, or do I have to go through the waiver?
You don't have to. So in your case, based on my review of the warrant and what was going on and the age of the warrant, I am recommending a secured appearance bond in the amount of $50,000. If you choose not to waive and you want to go through with attempting to secure bond, then you would have your first hearing on April 7th at 1:30.
And you said it was 50,000?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, you have any other questions?
So starting today, they have about, 30 to 60?
Starting tomorrow.
Starting tomorrow, they have about 30 days to come pick me up?
Mm-hmm.
And then if they don't on the end of that 30?
Then you would be released.
I'll be released? Okay. All right, that's fine.
So are you telling me that you want to waive, or are you wanting to go through the extradition process?
I'm guessing I'll go through the extradition because I don't have the bond money for sure. So
if you're going through the extradition, that means that you're trying to do the bond. If you that you can't, then it sounds like you want to waive that process and have the 30 days.
Yeah, I have the 30. I'll take the 30.
Okay. So before we move forward, I just have to ask you some questions to make sure that you do understand everything, okay?
Okay.
So my first question is that I am confirming that you had an opportunity to review the paperwork regarding extradition, correct?
Yes.
And do you understand that you don't have to sign the paperwork?
Yes.
Do you understand that you do have the right to an extradition hearing?
Yes.
Do you understand that you have the right to hire a lawyer at your own expense?
Yes.
Do you understand that you have the right to demand that a governor's warrant be signed by the governor of both Arizona and Texas before you are returned?
Yes.
And do you understand that you have the right to bail?
Yes.
Do you want to give up those rights and sign the paperwork?
The paperwork is for the...
The paperwork that you would be signing is that you're waiving those rights.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so you want to give up those rights and sign the paperwork?
Yes, for the 30 days, correct?
Correct.
Okay, yes.
Has anyone threatened you or promised you anything to get you to sign the paperwork?
No.
Have you had any drugs, medication, or alcohol in the last 24 hours?
Alcohol.
And having alcohol in the last 24 hours, does that affect your ability to understand what you're doing or affect your decision making?
No, ma'am.
I find that you have knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily are signing the paperwork, and I will sign it too. I am directing the Sheriff's Office to notify Texas that you are ready for return. The requesting state will have 30 days from tomorrow to pick you up unless there are local charges pending. If there are local charges pending, the 30 days will not start until the conclusion of that case. Do you have any other questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, please step forward. You will have to sign the paperwork.
Do you want me to print a signature or just do a signature on my
Signature. It didn't write slower. And sign again? Okay, you can put it down for now.
Y'all have a good one.
For Henderson. Yeah, Henderson, I print those orders. So I'm going to call Mr. Henderson back into the courtroom. Mr. Henderson, I did take the time to go back and review what you filed as well as consider your statements here today. I do believe that a bond is still appropriate. However, I'm reducing your secured appearance bond to $250 per case. So your total secured appearance bond is $500. 10% of $500 is what you will have to pay. And I base that on everything that I considered as well as reviewing the record and what you filed and when you filed it. So you have the corrected order. Okay, so if you will step to your left, the officer will give you your paperwork.
Is it possible to maybe be released with pretrial services?
I just told you what I was going to do.
Oh, okay.
You started off at $1,800. If you want to keep talking, I can go back up to $1,800.
Okay.
Okay.
I can't be released maybe on my own recognizance?
I've already given you my answer. We're not talking anymore.
Okay.
Mr. Bostic, will you please come into the courtroom? So I am making a record of what my concerns are. I am changing the order as I initially stated based on statements made by the defendant that is causing the court concern about whether or not it is safe for the defendant to be at home or being around the alleged victims. I have considered the statements and the wishes of the alleged victim, but I'm also having to take into consideration of what I have seen here this evening. So my release conditions are that you cannot return to the scene of the alleged crime, you cannot initiate any contact with the alleged victims, and you cannot reside at the same location as the alleged victims, even if you are the owner or renter of the residence. You are permitted one civil standby with local law enforcement to assist you in retrieving your belongings. You are cautioned that if you violate the no victim contact order, in this case, you could be charged with aggravated harassment, which is a Class 6 felony. Failure to comply with your release conditions or to appear for your court dates would result in any bond posted being forfeited, warrant being issued, and for your arrest and additional bond being imposed. This order does not preclude the alleged victim who asserts that she is the power of attorney for the defendant, and so whatever arrangements that she needs to make on his behalf, I believe that she can do so without violating the no victim contact order in this case. So that concludes everything that I needed to advise you of, and I believe that the corrected order. Okay, so if you will step to the left, the officer will give you your paperwork. Thank you.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So, where am I going to live after this whole charade?
Well, this is not a charade, sir.
I mean,
you've been charged with a crime.
Okay.
A very serious crime. So I believe that your sister will probably, whatever she's going to be working on your behalf, somehow, some way that would be communicated to you. I don't know, but I know that you can't, I don't believe it's appropriate based on what I read and then what you said in my courtroom here today. So I think that takes care of everything that we need to do here. So if you will step to your left, officers will give you your paperwork.
upstairs. So just leave it that way.
There you go with the play.
Mr. Loper, if you'll please come into the courtroom. Sir, can you please state your first and last name and your date of birth?
Matthew Loper, March 1st, 1988.
Excuse me, you are here today on a new case. You were charged with 3 counts of molestation of a child, a Class 2 felony, 2 counts of sexual conduct with a minor, a Class 2 felony, and 4 counts of sexual abuse, a Class 5 felony. I did find probable cause as to all of the offenses. I did appoint an attorney to represent you. You will have a status conference hearing on March 31st at 8:30 and a preliminary hearing on April 3rd at 8:30. I will make a record that I did review the victim impact statement that was provided by the court, as well as the state's recommendations in considering what release conditions are appropriate here. I am ordering a cash bond in the amount of $100,000. If you are able to post bond, you will be released to pretrial services with electronic monitoring. You cannot return to the scene of the alleged crime. You cannot initiate any contact with the alleged victims. You cannot have any contact with any minors. You cannot possess any weapons. If you violate the no victim contact order in this case, you could be charged with aggravated harassment, which is a Class 6 felony. Failure to comply with your release conditions or to appear for your court date will result in the forfeiture of any bond that you posted, a warrant being issued for your arrest, and additional bond being ordered. That takes care of everything that I needed to advise you of. If you have no questions for me, you step to the left, the officer will give you your paperwork. Thank you. Alize Rodriguez, date of birth, June 6, 2002, is here on 3 violations of probation and 1 new case. She is not present in person in court today due to disruptive behaviors. As to her new case, she was charged with 1 count of possession of drug paraphernalia, a Class 1 misdemeanor, and 1 count of false report to law enforcement, a Class 1 misdemeanor. I did find probable cause as to that offense, and I did appoint counsel to represent her. She will have an arraignment hearing on April 7th at 8:30. She has a secured appearance bond in the amount of $50, and she will be advised that she will have to contact probation within 72 hours of her release. As to her violations of probation, I did appoint an attorney to represent her on all matters. She will have a probation violation possible disposition hearing on April 1st at 8:30. On one of the warrants, she has a bond in the amount of $200. On another one, she has a secured appearance bond in the amount of $500. And on the last one, she has a secured appearance bond in the amount of $500. So between all 4 cases, she has a secured appearance bond in the amount of $1,250. I think, if my math is correct. I will, she will need to, if she's able to postpone, she will need to contact probation within 72 hours. She will also be advised that she must comply with her release conditions as well as appear for her court date. So if she fails to do so, any bond that she posts will be forfeited, a warrant would be issued for her arrest, and additional bond could be imposed. I will meet with Ms. Rodriguez. If there are any changes needed, I will do so either in writing or on the record. This concludes the 5 p.m. initial appearance calendar, and we stand in recess until 8 p.m.